Hi, my name is Brandon Winters, and today I'm going to present on my findings in the FIFA 2019 data. FIFA 2019 is a soccer based video game similar to a Madden or 2K, but in this case for soccer. Personally, I haven't played it, so I don't know a ton about it, but one of the things I do know about soccer is you run around a lot and it takes a lot of agility to do it. So that's primarily what I'm going to be focused on today. And to start, I have an agility distribution. It looks like a normal distribution, however, it's skewed to the right, where the higher most of the players are going to have higher agility numbers is centered around 65, 70. So the league and thus the game, it's more biased towards a higher agility than, say, if you were in, excuse me, saying if you were in the general population or if you're an office worker, lower agility might be better of, because it doesn't, because going to work in an office doesn't value agility, but being in the FIFA league and playing soccer, it clearly does. And then moving on to my next finding, I've looked at preferred foot. It's kind of like the preferred hand in basketball, where there are if you're very comfortable with your right hand, you're very good at it, but then sometimes you're not so good with your left. So here we see that for the most part, like both the left and the right foot, they have clear they have every value, but more specifically, you find that left-footed players tend to be more skilled because of a tighter distribution and then higher peaks. But it's not to say that right-footed players are slouches. It's just you see more of it on. You have more of a left-footed player is more likely to be better with ball control than in terms of a right-footed player. And then I have the agility colorized. So as you go up, one of the other things is like as you increase your agility, I mean, as your ball control increases, so does the agility. And you can see that generally speaking, in soccer, you have a few outliers like right here, where there's a player that he has very good agility, but his ball control is not so great, so he probably plays defense. But offensive players, they have to be very controlled with the ball, but then also very agile. And then another thing I decided to look at was body type and agility, because once again, this time using football as a reference, you have an offensive lineman, they're big dudes, they're not going to be that agile, versus having someone like a wide receiver, someone skinny like me, they're going to be very agile. So looking at the different types of builds, it seems to not matter as much, surprisingly. However, one of the cool things about FIFA is there are some players that have unique body types. So this Akinfenwa has almost no agility and it has a very unique body type. But then you have someone like Neymar, excuse me, you have someone like Neymar and Messi who are generally going to be more agile, and those are the big names of soccer. And then you have everybody else that kind of falls in the more lean, normal, and stocky body types. And my last thing I looked into was agility, specifically agility and how it affects your payment. I mean, how you get paid. So going into different filters, I set this one to 80. And you find that when you look at top end, 96 to 80, you're pretty much guaranteed your contracts are 10 plus million and it's like as you go down excuse me, as you go down in value, the lower your the lower you get more rewarded for having higher agility. And then there's a trend that it's slight and it's not the strongest trend. But then if I go to filter again, and this time I'm going to set it from 60 to 79 to illustrate my point. And you see that the contracts down here are much less valuable. And the other cool thing about this is you're able to look at age through here. So usually all these players are between 25 and 32, kind of when they hit their athletic prime. So after their bodies develop, because in your early 20s your body is still developing, but especially for these athletes as they're putting on weight and mass and still refining technicalities. So Messi and Ronaldo, they're older, but then there's some up and coming players that are just hitting their prime. And teams are willing to hand out contracts for that. As opposed to some 20-year-old they just signed, they're not really going to sign him because they don't know what they have yet. They don't know if he's going to get better. So all that being said, these are the findings I found on agility and ultimately how it leads to value and how clubs and players can use agility as an indicator as to what they should sign players for and what they shouldn't sign players for. So thank you. See ya.